It started on a night like any other. The clock glowed 3:17 a.m., a familiar, unwelcome beacon in the dark. Sleep, as usual, was a cruel joke. In a fit of restless desperation, I rummaged through the attic, pulling out my grandfather's old, dusty shortwave radio, a relic from an era before constant connectivity. I figured the white noise might lull me. I tuned the dial aimlessly, past crackling foreign broadcasts and garbled police calls. Then it hit, a clear, unmistakable melody, barely cutting through the static. It was a lullaby, a haunting, childlike tune, played on what sounded like a music box, but distorted as if coming from underwater. It was accompanied by a constant, low hiss of static, like sand shifting on a hidden shore. I leaned in, fascinated. I'd never heard anything like it. The melody repeated, simple and cyclical. It wasn't pretty, not exactly. It felt mournful. I checked the frequency. It was tucked away in an obscure band, far from any commercial station. I listened until the first rays of dawn peeked through my curtains, and then, inexplicably, the signal vanished. The next night, at precisely 3:17 a.m., I was waiting. The dial hummed, and there it was again. The lullaby, the same distorted music box, the same incessant static. But this time, woven into the static, I thought I heard a faint scratching sound, like nails dragging on wood, or something trying to escape. I told myself it was just interference. I tried recording it on my phone, holding it up to the speaker. The next morning, I played it back. Pure static. No lullaby, no scratching. Just a flat, empty hiss. My heart tightened. This became my ritual. Every night, 3:17 a.m. The lullaby, the static, and the sound within it. The scratching grew clearer, joined by what sounded like heavy, irregular breathing. Closer now. I swore I could hear faint, desperate whispers just below the threshold of intelligibility. They seemed to weave in and out of the tune, like a second voice, whispering something I couldn't quite grasp. One night, I decided to change rooms, dragging the radio into my living room. It didn't matter. At 3:17 a.m., the lullaby filled the air. The radio was still on the frequency, but I heard the scratching coming from behind me. I spun around. Nothing. My blood ran cold. The whispers started to gain form. Words. Not clearly, but fragments. Don't sleep. She's waiting. The breathing was now a low, rhythmic rasp, almost like someone panting in a small, enclosed space. Then came the night I couldn't take it anymore. I unplugged the radio. I wrapped it in blankets, shoved it in the back of my closet. I covered my ears. 3:17 a.m. The lullaby started. It wasn't coming from the closet. It wasn't coming from the radio. It was coming from inside my head. The music box melody, the static, the scratching, the panting, the whispers, they were all there, crystal clear, echoing inside my skull. It was louder, more immediate than it had ever been. The whispers were coherent now. She's coming for you, little one. Don't close your eyes. You can't hide from me. I know your song. I screamed, covering my ears with desperate force, but the sound was in me. It was a part of me. It had been transmitted, absorbed. I don't know what that radio was, or what that lullaby truly was, but it's with me now. Every night, at 3:17 a.m., the static lullaby begins. And sometimes I think I hear footsteps outside my bedroom door, perfectly in time with the panting. I haven't slept properly in weeks, because I know if I close my eyes, I'll hear the whispers clearly, and I'll feel the scratching not from outside the walls, but from inside my mind. And she'll be waiting, just like the song says. Next story. The first time it happened, I dismissed it as a glitch. My phone buzzed on the nightstand, a notification for a new photo. But I hadn't taken one. I unlocked it, and there, among my selfies and cat memes, was a picture I didn't recognize. It was a shot of my own living room, taken from a low angle near the floor, as if from under the couch. The lighting was dim, making the familiar space look alien and vaguely threatening. Must be a pocket dial, I mumbled, deleting it instantly. A week later, another one. This time, it was a photo of my bedroom, from the corner, near the ceiling. It showed my bed, neatly made, a book left open on the pillow. I was at work all day. My apartment was empty. My heart gave a small, uneasy thrum. This wasn't a pocket dial. My phone doesn't have wings. I checked my apps, scanned for malware, changed all my passwords. Nothing. My tech-savvy friend scoffed. Probably just cloud sync acting up or some weird camera setting. He showed me how to disable automatic backups. For a few days, nothing appeared. I started to relax. Then, on a Tuesday night, I was cooking dinner. My phone was on the counter, screen down. Suddenly, a notification. I flipped it over. It was a picture of me, not a selfie, not from the reflection of a window. It was a shot of my back as I stood at the stove, stirring pasta. The angle was slightly low, from behind my right shoulder. It was clear, too clear, and the reflection in the steel pot on the stove showed no phone, no camera, just my face looking down. My hand trembled, nearly dropping the spatula. I deleted it again, faster this time. I felt a prickle on my neck, the sudden, unbearable sensation of being watched. I spun around, scanning the kitchen, the living room beyond. Nothing, just the usual apartment silence, punctuated by the bubbling water. That night, I slept with my phone under my pillow. A pathetic defense, I knew, but it offered some strange comfort. I woke up disoriented. The sun hadn't risen, but the room felt different, heavy. I reached for my phone, fingers fumbling. One new notification. I opened the gallery. It was a photo of my face, my sleeping face. The angle was from directly above my head, looking down. My eyes were closed, my mouth slightly open. The sheet was pulled up to my chin. The shadows under my eyes were pronounced. I could even see a faint trace of blue on the pillow beside me. I gasped, scrambling backward against the headboard. How? My phone was under the pillow. How could it take a picture from above me? My eyes darted to the ceiling. Nothing. The empty fan blades hung motionless. My breath hitched. There was a sound. A faint, almost imperceptible click. It seemed to come from the closet. My blood ran cold. I stared at the closet door. Its plain white surface now a menacing blank canvas. Was something in there? My mind screamed no, but the primal fear held me in its grip. I slowly, agonizingly, reached for my phone again. My finger, trembling, slid across the screen, refreshing the gallery. A new photo appeared. It was a shot of my closet door. From inside, the gap between the door and the frame was barely visible, but through it, I could see a sliver of my room. And in that sliver, illuminated by the faint morning light, was me, my own terrified face, eyes wide, staring at the phone. The image was zoomed in, and behind my reflection, in the tiny sliver of my room visible through the closet door, something dark and vaguely humanoid was standing, barely visible, just a shadow, The phone slipped from my grasp, clattering to the floor. My eyes remained fixed on the closet door. It was still closed, but I could feel it now. The presence, the gaze. I didn't pick up the phone. I didn't check the gallery. I just sat there, frozen, waiting for the next click. Because I knew, deep down, it wasn't just taking pictures anymore. It was watching, and it was getting closer. And soon, it wouldn't need the phone at all. Sometimes, science crosses its boundaries. Curiosity transforms into obsession. And then, stories are born, stories that steal your sleep. Today, I'm going to tell you one such story, a legend buried in the shadows of the Cold War. This is the Russian sleep experiment. In the late 1940s, in the Soviet Union, a group of scientists embarked on a terrifying experiment. Their goal was to keep humans awake for a full 30 days. 5 political prisoners were chosen. They were placed in a sealed chamber where a special gas was continuously pumped in. This gas was designed to keep them awake. Initially, everything was normal. The prisoners conversed about their past lives, about their crimes. Microphones were installed in the room, recording their every word. Scientists watched them from outside, excited about their success. But after the 5th day, things began to change. The prisoners' conversations diminished. They began to whisper, mumbling to themselves. They seemed to believe they couldn't trust each other. On the 9th day, the first scream erupted. A prisoner ran to a corner of the room and screamed like a maniac. He screamed for hours continuously until his voice gave out. Surprisingly, the other prisoners showed no reaction, as if they couldn't hear anything. Over the next few days, the situation deteriorated further. The prisoners stopped speaking. They started performing strange actions, staring at the walls, contorting their bodies in bizarre ways. On the 11th day, the scientists went to inspect the room. What they saw was horrific. The prisoners were alive, but their condition was inhuman. They had severely wounded their own bodies. Their muscles had been torn, bones were visible. Surprisingly, they felt no pain. They were smiling, staring blankly at the scientists. On the walls of the room, strange figures were drawn in blood, and the gas that was meant to keep them awake, they no longer needed it. To stay awake, they were inflicting pain upon themselves. When the scientists tried to remove them from the chamber, the prisoners resisted violently. They begged, demanded to be allowed to remain in the gas. Their voices were no longer human. They were distorted, guttural. In the chaos, one of the scientists managed to ask, "What are you?" The creature, once a man, only smiled. And from the depths of that twisted smile came a whisper, "We are you. We are the madness that waits within us all when we are deprived of sleep." The experiment was ended, but the question remained, what did they unleash? And how much of that darkness lies dormant within us? This story, it's more than just a terrifying tale. It's a dark reflection of human nature, on the horrors that can be unleashed when the mind is pushed beyond its limits. It reminds us that some doors are better left unopened. Some experiments are best left undone, because the consequences can haunt you long after the nightmare ends. And sometimes what you find in the darkness is yourself. What are your thoughts on this chilling experiment? Let us know in the comments below. And if you dare to explore more such tales of darkness, like this video and subscribe to our channel. We'll be waiting. Some files are more than just pictures. Some images carry a curse. Tonight, I'll tell you about one such file. A file that whispers in your dreams. This is a story of smile.jpg. It began in the early days of the internet. A mysterious image file started circulating. An image of a dog grinning unnaturally, with human-like teeth and glowing eyes. Those who viewed it reported nightmares, hallucinations, and a compulsion to share the image. One woman, Mary, received the file from a friend. She opened it. That night, she dreamed of the dog. It spoke to her, spread the word. She refused. Days turned into weeks. Mary's health deteriorated. She suffered from insomnia, paranoia, and seizures. Doctors were baffled. She claimed the dog visited her nightly, demanding she share the image. Eventually, Mary isolated herself, living in darkness, avoiding all screens. But the dreams persisted. The dog never left her. Others who encountered the image met similar fates. Some vanished. Others took their own lives. All had one thing in common. They saw the dog, and they didn't share the image. Smile.jpg is more than a file. It's a virus of the mind, a mimetic curse. Once seen, it embeds itself in your psyche, feeding off your fear, growing stronger with each passing night. So, if you ever come across a file named smile.jpg, think twice before opening it, because once you see that grin, it's already too late. Have you encountered smile.jpg? Share your experiences in the comments below. And if you dare to delve deeper into the shadows, like this video and subscribe. We'll be waiting. This might get removed for low account karma. I don't care. I need to get this out of my head, and to warn you all. A few months ago, I found an archive forum through a tall mirror. Mostly dead links, old files, weird diagrams. It read like a cross between a survivalist message board and a metaphysics cult. One thread was titled Source Location Youth Zone MNX Grid, posted by someone with a username that was just a string of numbers and slashes. It was about the Fountain of Youth, an actual place. The instructions were a mess, broken English, bad formatting, but one phrase came up over and over. It doesn't matter where you start. Walk due true north. Do not drift. If the needle drifts, you've already passed it. People in the thread argued about it. Some said true north meant geographic. Others said it was an induced flux in the Earth's magnetic field. Still others argued a cosmic north. One guy said you needed a special kind of compass that could attune to local fields. Someone else posted a DIY schematic. No explanation, just a blurry photo of what looked like a needle floating in oil with some kind of stone casing around it. Hematite, maybe. It was probably bullshit, but it hit something in me. I was in a weird place. Burned out, disconnected, jaded. The idea that there was a place, a zone you could walk into, and just be undone. I couldn't let it go. I built the compass myself. I followed the diagram with materials I barely understood. A quartz vial, thick and saline, glycerin maybe. Hematite ring is the outer shell. The needle floated, suspended, and every time I set it down, it didn't just drift, it snapped into place, like it knew where to point independent of where it was. I planned a solo trip into the northern Rockies. I packed light, mostly MREs and some small non-perishables. I brought a tent, backup compass, which I swore I wouldn't use, a journal, a flare gun, and a map just in case. My only rule, follow that compass. Exactly. No rerouting. No detours. Just walk where it pointed. The first week was peaceful. Cold, but manageable. Nights were long, and I could see every star. I slept in a bivy sack, kept my boots outside to avoid frost, and cooked with a tiny alcohol stove. Every morning, the compass needle would be waiting, pointing that same fixed direction like it never moved. It felt obedient. almost helpful. I walked maybe 10 to 12 miles a day. Sometimes I napped in the shade, stretched my legs. I made camp when the sky shifted violet. There were no markers, no signs of other hikers. It felt like I was being led, like something was unfolding just for me. Around day 11, I passed a rock shelf split down the middle, clean, vertical, like a knife wound. I remember stopping there, eating a chicken and rice amai, writing in my log, staring out over a dry gulch. It felt important, so I marked it on my paper map. 4 days later, I passed it again. Same rock, same split, but this time I was approaching from the opposite side. I checked the compass, still pointing north. Still steady, but the angle felt wrong. Not broken, not reversed, just slightly off, like a half of a degree to the west. I told myself I must have looped accidentally. Terrain does that. Hills pull you off course. But something in me knew. I kept going. By day 17, I passed a stacked pile of stones I swore I built myself. Same pattern, same flat top where I later rationed to cool. But I didn't remember coming back this way. And the compass hadn't changed. Still forward, still locked in. That night, I made camp under a gnarled pine. I woke up once to pee and saw the compass needle twitch. Just once, like it was adjusting itself mid-dream. Day 19, I found an old fire pit with burned can in the ashes. Same brand I'd eaten days before. I looked down and realized my boot prints were already in the soil. That was the moment I remembered the post. If the needle drifts, you've already passed it. I don't remember making the decision, but I started walking faster. Not toward anything, just away. My food was running low. My hands were shaking. I hadn't seen wildlife in days. Just a needle, pointing with more confidence than I had. By the time I reached the frozen stream I'd definitely crossed before, the compass had turned completely. Still locked on, but now pointing directly behind me. That was the worst part. Not that it was broken, but that I never noticed a change. I camped again, in the same spot where I'd found my own note in a plastic bag under a high-branch cedar. I don't remember leaving it. That night, I left the compass on a rock next to my bag. I swear I didn't sleep, but when I looked again, the needle was pointing at my chest. I stood up in a start, and the needle quivered in response. I made it out. Somehow, I followed the stars, the sun, anything but the compass. I don't remember hiking back, just blinking and being on the edge of a ranger station with cracked lips and dote in my teeth. I got home 3 days later. The compass is still in my apartment. I keep it on my desk. I've tried putting it in drawers, closets, boxes. It doesn't matter. When I take it out, it points at me, every time. I've spun it, walked around the room, held it upside down. The needle always finds me. Sometimes it moves before I do. At first, I thought it was a trick of the gel or magnetism, but I haven't been sleeping well. And when I do, I wake up feeling different. Not sick, just off. My handwriting's cleaner. My joints don't pop. I think my eyesight's better. But I forgot my sister's birthday. I always remembered her birthday. Yesterday I had a memory of my 3rd grade teacher, clear as day. I haven't thought about her in decades, but I couldn't remember my last job interview or my apartment number. I used to crave simplicity. I used to want the freedom of childhood, the lack of stress, the quiet inside my own head. But that quiet is creeping in now, and it doesn't feel like peace. It feels like forgetting. I don't think I found the fountain. I think I passed it, and I think something followed me back. The compass isn't drifting anymore. I am, and I don't know how far I'm going, or who I'll be when I get there. Okay, I'm still trying to process what happened last night. I didn't expect to post this so soon, but something about it feels unfinished. So here it is. I went to the dead feed. I made the drive, 2 hours northwest. Road was narrow, barely maintained. Trees were thick, leaning in over the gravel like they didn't want anyone going in or coming out. My GPS cut out near the old county line, but I had printed coordinates from an FCC relay archive. That's how I found the access route. I brought my old Zoom H4 Enfield recorder with me. I used it for interviews at the station, clean audio, reliable batteries, and honestly, I've kept it in my car ever since WQRC shut down. Call it a habit, or maybe paranoia. But after everything that's happened, the tapes, the voices, I knew if something went wrong, I wanted it on record. Something physical, not digital, not editable. Anyway, the site was exactly where it should have been. Unmarked, no fencing, no locks, just a slab of moss-choked brick with one door, one window, and one rusting satellite dish. There was a hum, not a machine hum, deeper, rhythmic, faint, like breath. I found an old electrical panel near the back wall, the kind with round fuses and rusted screws. Inside was a single, crisp index card taped to the metal, handwritten numbers in marker. 940,170. Same as the envelope, same as the tape, same as the signal. The air shifted. My ears popped. I started to feel like I was shrinking, like the woods were growing around me. My hand brushed my coat pocket, and I felt the recorder. It was already on. I hadn't powered it up. I pulled it out and watched as the screen flickered to life. Then it played a file. I hadn't recorded anything. The voice was synthetic, calm, but the pacing, it mimicked our traffic brake cadence. Inian Nell's voice, relay active, signal confirmed. Transmitting, Mitch Halwell, WQRC 98.7, status, unknown, presumed terminated. Next relay pending. Begin phase 2. Then silence. Then my mother's voice. She passed in 2016. But there she was. Same breathy tone she used when I come home sick from school. Same shakiness. Like she was afraid. She whispered, "You shouldn't have come here." That broke me. I took off, bolted into the trees. The building vanished behind me. I swear it did. I couldn't find it again for at least 10 minutes, even retracing my steps. When I finally got back to the car, the recorder had gone cold. No power. Wouldn't boot. I didn't stop driving until I hit streetlights and saw other people. A few minutes ago, I opened the recorder to check the SD card. It was melted, not burnt, just fused, like it had been microwaved from the inside out. There's no file. There's no proof. Just what I saw, what I heard. Last night, when I turned the radio on, 14225 was already broadcasting. And it was me. My voice, saying 0, 4, 8, 9, 2, 2, transmitting new relay, location confirmed. I don't know what phase 2 is or when it could have started. I'm in the dark just as much as you are. If anyone is still listening at 2:37 a.m., and if you hear anything, please tell me what you hear. Or anything at all. Any advice would be greatly appreciated.